Hello and welcome to the Paws Perspective podcast. I'm Molly.
And I'm Pat, and we're from Flying Paws Dog Training. We're so excited you're here.
This is where we share training tips, behaviour insights and fun ways to build a stronger bond with your dog.
Grab a coffee, flip on the lead, and let's dive in. Welcome to the Paws Perspective. I'm Pat.
And I'm Molly.
And today we're going to have a little chat about, do we think dogs have changed, or do we think our expectations of them have changed?
It's an interesting topic, isn't it? It's something we talk about
a lot.
You've obviously been dog training for a while. And you think there's been a change?
I think there's been a change. There's definitely been a change in our expectations.
Yeah.
I guess when I first started, and I guess when I first started going or doing any dog training with Riley way back when, it was still a little bit different. She was probably the first dog that lived inside all the time. I mean, I guess we had little dogs as I was growing up that were inside, but the dogs I'd had sort of were mostly outside dogs up until Riley. She was inside. But I think they've changed over the years a little bit, but definitely our expectations of what we expect them to be able to cope with, and where we expect to be able to take them, have definitely changed. And you've got a little story that happened when you were out walking with Fox the other day, and I think it's a good one, I guess, to think about what we expect them to be able to cope with.
Yeah. So I guess probably all of this really started, like I said, we said on the top, this is something that we talk about on and off
a lot,
but
for various reasons.
Yes, but by this point of this podcast coming out, our Kelly Gill podcast would have been out for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And we don't script our podcasts. When we have guests, we give them questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've listened to that, you would know in it, I asked her if she thinks dogs had changed.
Yeah, which was interesting.
And that was actually not a question we had down.
No.
It was just where the conversation had got to. And I suppose it's something, like we said, we talk about, and it's interesting to know what other people in the dog industry actually think. Do they think the same as us or not? And then this was only, like 2 days after.
Yeah, I reckon.
We talked to Hilly, so I think a lot of it was still in my brain, but we were walking down the main street, which we usually, like if I take him for a walk in Ulverstone, I do usually try to walk down the main street just so there's people and there's cars and there's dogs, just to keep practicing with a lot of those things. And we were down sort of near like where the Commonwealth Bank and Krusty's are, which people that know Ulverstone would know that's probably the busiest.
Gets pretty busy.
Part of the main street. And a young-ish couple with a little, like not a pram, a pusher, like it was an old-fashioned little stroller thing, not like one of the big things you see now. It was literally one of those little fold-out ones, like you have for baby dolls and things like that.
Yep.
Had come from the ATM, and I was sort of coming towards them, and I went to duck past them, and so probably it was a bad setup, but it was me, Fox, and then them. And as we got sort of Fox's shoulder to tummy to the pram, there was one of the loudest squeals I reckon I have ever heard. And at this point, this kid is like 30 centimetres away from Fox. And everybody, there was a lady who like was crossing the road. It was really busy. Everybody like jumped and stopped. And then the little girl starts going, "Oh, it's a dog! It's a doggy! It's a dog!" And I just kept Fox moving, partly because I thought he's been around kids, but he's never really interacted with kids. It's been more neutral interactions with kids, partly just because I don't have kids
around
in my life of that sort of an age. But to his credit, he jumped like everybody else jumped, but he didn't do anything. He just kept moving, which is interesting because when I was telling you, you asked me, what did the parents do?
Yep.
And as I was moving away, I could hear them say, "Oh, that's a nice dog. What a good dog." And I couldn't help but think if he had have barked or he had have reacted, let's say,
Yeah, 'cause it's a bit scary. Everyone else jumped, so mm,
everybody jumped, would he still have been, "That's a nice dog, that's a good dog"?
or would he be in a bad dog because he
Yeah, and
barked
then,
because he was
like,
scared?
not even 30 seconds later down the street, we a lady had come out of sort of the Coles arcade and was sort of like half a step in front of us. And as we walked past a car, I don't even know what sort of dog it was. All I could tell you was it was little because it was that little yappy noise. It must have come flying at the window. And again, I jumped, Fox jumped, the lady jumped and spun around. And Fox got a bit more excited at that point, and I just kept him moving. And the lady, when we'd sort of got a little bit further, turned around and she said, "Oh, that wasn't you that was barking, you were the good dog." And I thought again, like, there was 2 really quick things, but if he had have barked and lunged, and would he have
Or
then
reacted, yeah.
been a
Bad
bad
dog.
dog?
Mm,
So it's it's interesting, isn't it?
yeah,
Because once upon a time, if a kid squealed basically in a dog's face, whose fault would that have been
yeah.
if the dog had have reacted?
Well, I know when I was little, it would have been my fault. I would have got into trouble.
Yeah, well, you did get into
Yeah, I
trouble.
used to get into trouble.
Um, and I mean, even me, I would have done it, would have been,
You don't do that.
you don't do that.
Mm,
Where now it seems a lot of things have changed, and, we get people coming to us going, "It barked at a kid," or,
yeah,
"How do I make it not bark at a kid?"
and it could be for anything. It could have scared it like that. Like Fox did a good job not barking because it's just a natural reaction, like a
Mm,
startle reaction. We've
mm,
all got it. Um, but yeah, sometimes they don't mean anything. It's just the kid might have startled them or
yeah,
something like that. So yeah, they're not necessarily a bad dog in inverted commas,
mm,
just because it reacts. Um, so yeah, I think that's where our expectations, or a lot of people's expectations, are pretty high.
they are
Like
pretty high, and I mean,
pretty hard sometimes.
are they are they too high,
Oh,
or are we not creating the dogs to match the new expectations of the world?
yeah. Well, that's another interesting thing, isn't it? Because and Kelly touched on it for a moment, and it's probably something that we have touched on again in different
Mm,
conversations. Again, what we want is a dog that's got a good temperament,
yeah,
good conformation as well, because you don't want it to have arthritic problems or joint problems too young. But we're also looking for a good temperament. But once upon a time, I guess because dogs were more outside, they were more, we had them for working purposes, not so much in the backyard having, in the family with us. Um, if the dog couldn't perform the job, or if it didn't have a really good temperament, the farmer or whoever used to get rid of it.
mm,
So it couldn't breed. It couldn't, those genetics couldn't go on anywhere else.
yeah,
Um, Not saying that's right or wrong. That's just a comment.
yeah.
But nowadays we don't do that sort of thing. So sometimes, and I guess with all the lessons that we do, we have seen it where someone will come and, you know, the dog might be a little bit nervous,
Mm.
and then they tell us they've bred with it. So, that means that those pups are then already got to start where they're going to be nervous because their dad's nervous.
Well, we shouldn't say they're going to be nervous. They've
Oh,
got a
possibly,
higher
yeah,
predisposition.
to be,
Yeah.
yeah,
And this then starts to come back to nature versus nurture.
it
And I
does.
think for too long there was too much of an expectation on nurture, because one thing that we definitely don't do now, and I think it was one of the worst things for dogs, but for the dog industry was this, it's all how you raise them.
Yeah.
And it was basically ignoring that the dog has feelings, the dog
Yeah.
has genetics, the dog has, all of these sorts of things that when you get an 8-week like, an 8-week-old puppy has been alive for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I think we forget that
Yeah, it's
sometimes,
not very long.
but it has still come with a past.
Yeah,
That
that's
8
right.
weeks has still meant something.
Yeah,
Mum,
very
dad,
important.
grandma, grandpa,
Mm.
they all potentially mean something and have come through into this dog. So it's all how you raise them effectively was saying, here's a blank slate, create what you want. And if that was true, we wouldn't have jobs.
Yeah, that's right, and it also makes people think, what have I done? What have I done
Yeah.
wrong? Because my pup isn't perfect, or my dog isn't perfect, or something's happened. It's barking at this and that, or lunging, or whatever.
Mm,
But it's probably not. They've done everything right, everything, and we see that
mhm,
they've done everything possible they can for the pup. But it might have had, its parents, grandparents, somewhere along the line. Um, you know, some genetics come through that, yeah, don't help it, and it's
mm,
not the caregiver's fault.
yeah.
They're doing everything they can, but yeah, the pups don't come as a blank slate. Yeah, they come with a suitcase with them.
Yeah, and when we think of them as a blank slate, and then we think about the expectations that we want,
Mm,
and I don't think it's necessarily wrong to approach having a dog with expectations. I think expectations can set boundaries.
yep,
Expectations can set the dog up for possibly what you and it wanna do
in the future.
in the future, but I think sometimes the expectations can forget to take the dog into consideration.
Yeah.
It's maybe it's big, and maybe that's because we pay for dogs.
Yeah, well, could
You know?
be. We buy them, and to be honest, dogs aren't cheap.
No.
When I bought my first dog, he was $20 down the road in the
Yeah.
backyard. You don't get a $20 dog now.
No, Fox definitely wasn't $20.
No, and he was an awesome dog. Um, but yeah, maybe we think because we've paid more for them that they should do what we want them to do. But I think having expectations or goals or dreams on what you want to do, but you need to be flexible as well.
I don't know, I mean, I don't know so much if it's I've paid for it, so it should do what I want it to do, but we've got an investment,
Yeah,
I think is more what I was thinking. You've invested money into purchasing a dog, so you've got a financial investment in
yeah,
it, and if you've gone, "I want a therapy dog," or "I want an assistance dog," or something especially down that sort of a line, and you've invested money into that, and then for some reason things don't work out, that can be really disappointing.
it
Or a
can.
sports dog, or
Yeah,
even
what
just a pet dog you wanna take for a
for a
walk.
walk? Oh, definitely. But I think that's where we've got to say, well, if the dog would like to, this is what I'd like to do. But then if that doesn't suit the dog, you've got to be a little bit flexible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, we've got to think about both those sorts of things when we're getting a pup.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely, and some of that comes back to, which again we touched on briefly with Kelly, knowing a breeder, knowing the pups, knowing that, this is gonna be a good sports dog, or this is gonna be a good therapy dog, and we've seen some great matches, haven't we?
oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah, really good matches. But then on the other hand, sometimes we see someone that is just busting to do something with their dog,
Yeah,
and unfortunately, the dog's not quite up for it. It just wants to do something a little bit different.
yeah,
So you've got to take that into account as well.
yeah.
Um, but it's a really interesting topic. There's a lot of ways you can go with it.
Yeah, it is, and I think, I think we don't wanna put it all down and say it's all breeding's fault, but I
Oh
think
no,
breeding is a big part of it, because I think, you know dogs were still bred for a job,
Yeah,
um,
a lot of them are,
and
definitely.
some are closer to doing like, they have been closer to
Yep.
doing that, and, Marimas are an example of that.
Yeah, well, still, really, in Tassie, if you get a Maremma, they've there's not that many pet homes. Like, they often go to a pet home, but they're probably bred. They're still working dogs,
They are,
still
and
out there,
I
you know,
think
in the
they're a
paddock.
good one to put into perspective because, they're Italian.
Yep.
They're a, their proper Italian name, I probably butcher it, but it's Maremma Abruzzese or something like that, um, which is just the region of Italy, the mountain region they were from. But they were first, like, reported in Italian history 2,000 years ago.
Mm.
So, 1, that's 2,000 years of genetics
Yeah.
to get to this point, but 2, they only came to Australia in the 1980s. So
Yeah.
that's 40 years of coming over with these genetics
Yeah.
to do a job that we then get one and want to
Slap
not
it. Yeah, slap it in the backyard and
do the job.
yeah,
Yeah.
and want it to, just sit there and be happy.
Yeah,
Um,
which some may very well
do
be.
yeah.
In some ways, like, I don't know if Murph would have been a good, actual proper working dog, or if that's just because he grew up in a house,
Yeah.
that he went, "Okay, I do like the couch. Couches are nice."
Mm. But he's also got a bit of land. You've got a couple of acres and you're in
Mm.
a rural area. So if he did bark at something,
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
it didn't matter, which is a bit different than if you've got them barking in town
Yeah.
where, and I mean, that's just what they were bred for. They don't want to have a fight. They want to scare the predator away with their bark.
Yeah.
So they are going to bark.
I think too, sort of on this and about, you know, dogs having jobs and this sort of stuff, I think the next breed, that is going to be very interesting to watch, and I don't wanna get into too much of it here because it's obviously a very sensitive topic, but it's going to be greyhounds.
Yeah.
Um, you don't get puppy greyhounds
No, I've never seen a puppy greyhound.
because they're born for racing.
Yep.
Whether that's right or wrong depends on who you talk to,
Oh, yeah.
and I think, we're of the opinion that how they're treated
That's the most important
is
thing.
the most important thing, but greyhound racing is going to stop.
Yeah, so
So, we're gonna have a case study, I think, happen in front of us
mm,
in what happens to the breeding of greyhounds.
mm,
Do people start breeding them for pet homes?
yeah.
Because they're great dogs to have in a
Oh,
house.
yeah, yeah, and you see the, ones, a lot of the ones that come through Gap and those sorts
Mm,
of things, and they just putt along, they like laying on a beanbag, inside,
yeah,
laying at the cafe, so, you might have a few other issues with them not being used to being in houses and when
mm,
when we bring them in, but on the whole, they're pretty good dogs.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it'll be interesting in the future to see whether people still do breed them,
yes,
and whether we see people getting them actually as pups.
yeah.
So
Or do they disappear?
yeah,
Like, I hope not, because
no, nice dogs
but what happens when they're not being bred
for
for,
racing.
like, well, as a commodity,
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Um, but I think obviously only time will tell.
oh yeah,
Um, but I think it's going to be very interesting because I think that, well, like I said, we're going to see a breed that's been bred to do something for a very long time
mm,
and not really had a chance to be raised in a pet home.
no,
Um, what's going to happen with
mm,
them? Um, I think getting off greyhounds, I think the other thing which we talked about with, I think Lisa's podcast will be out today. We recorded it with her today, but it will be out by the time this comes out, um, is the cultural differences with dogs.
yeah,
We talked to her, she lived in the UK for a while,
mm,
and had dogs over there, and Europe don't seem to have the
mm.
behaviour problems that we do,
No, they don't. I think
or America does, or
yeah, and I think we've touched on this in a little chit chat ourselves, isn't it? And we've said, I don't know whether we need to look at what they're doing more,
mm,
um, because they just don't seem to have a lot of the problems we have. And, can we learn from them?
But I think after talking to Lisa a bit today, it's so normal that
Dogs are everywhere.
dogs are everywhere, but they're respected.
Yes.
People aren't just going up to them. People aren't dogs just aren't being taken up to dogs and
Yeah.
put in awkward situations, and
Yeah.
it's sort of the dogs grow up with it's normal to hop on the train, it's normal to sit in the cafe, it's normal to do all these
Yeah.
things.
Go through the shops.
We sometimes will get a pup and maybe not take it out till it's 3 or 4 months
Yeah.
old, or, you might get a pup, which we see a fair bit, you get it a little bit later, which sometimes can be a good thing.
Yep.
Our terrier, we didn't get him until he was 4 months, but he'd had so much work put into him that nothing really worried him. But some that might have just been at a breeder's
Not seen anything.
in that critical period of socialisation, you then get problems.
Yes, that's exactly right. And you just, it's interesting, isn't it? I think what we need to do is maybe look at just what are Europe doing? Like, what are they doing so differently? Is it just that they get to go out everywhere? Is it something different?
I think what Lisa touched on today, and like go and listen to the podcast with her, it's right at the start. I mean, the whole podcast is great, but this is something, we touched on quite early with her. I think she thinks a lot of it's just respect.
Yeah.
And that if, like she said, it's not that no one ever pats dogs over there. Dogs don't interact at all together, but it's just, can I pat your dog? No, not right now. Okay then.
Yeah.
We're now here. And I mean, there's people here that,
do that.
And it's great, but there's just this expectation that
you see a cute pup and you can go up to it, or see a dog.
Yeah, that dogs are sort of seen as public property.
Yeah. Yeah, and they shouldn't be. And it'd be a lot more helpful to the dog and pups caregivers if people didn't want to come up to them all the time.
Yeah, times
because if you're trying to get your pup, taking your young pup out and you want it to focus on you, not be getting overexcited about other people coming up and goo-gooing over it, it'd be a lot easier if people just walked past and gave them a bit of room, gave you and your pup and your dog a bit of respect.
Yeah.
So something to think about, I think, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think the other thing we've talked about breeding in this, but I think in our total welfare course that we did earlier this year, and hopefully we will have some exciting things on that front. We were meant to have it.
Yeah.
We're meant to have it by now, but we don't.
No.
It's hopefully coming into, and that's not us. That's that is the American side of things. But hopefully coming into 2026, there will be some
exciting news.
But it looks at looking at a good life for a dog and what each individual dog needs to live a good life.
Yeah, which is what we want for our dogs.
But one of the things that Kim Brophy talked about, and we've heard other people talk a lot about it in time too, is that a lot can be taken from people who are successfully breeding for service and therapy dogs.
Yes.
Into what people want moving forward. And I think that hopefully, it's probably going to get to a point where temperament is thought
a lot more
first. Basically, the first point is, what are the temperaments of this male and female?
Yeah, which will be really good.
And I think Kelly made a good point in her podcast too, where she said, oh my God, I've forgotten what I was going to say. She said when she breeds, that's right, when she breeds, she thinks about, this dog's got to go into the community.
Yeah.
And it's going to have weird stuff thrown at it, like a child screaming in its face.
Yeah.
And I don't take for granted that I'm very lucky that he has the nature. I've put a lot of nurture in, but he has a nature that can cope with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, definitely.
So What do we think? Do we think it's
Oh,
dogs have changed or it's the expectation that's
I
changed?
think dogs have changed a little bit over the years, but I think massively our expectations have changed.
Yeah.
And I think we need to think about our expectations for our own dogs and for other dogs that we see out and about.
I saw a good Facebook post shared today. I was gonna say to you, but I don't think I have yet. Actually, Kelly shared it, and it was, that 90% of all dog training problems are handler error. And we have
That's an
this
interesting one, isn't
we
it?
have this notion as humans that we're perfect
Yeah,
and everything else is the problem.
yeah.
And that unfortunately at times applies to our dogs.
Oh, that's right.
And we go, well, why is the dog not doing that?
Hmm.
Or why is the dog doing X, Y, and Z? Um, and sometimes the answer lies back with us.
Yeah, that's right. We're not helping them. We're just expecting them to do things without showing them or helping them into those positions or situations that we want. Just trying to rush them. There's lots of reasons, isn't there? But usually it's us.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
think we need to take responsibility for our actions.
Across the board, I don't think it's just pet owners, I
Oh no.
think it's breeders,
Yep.
I think it's, vets,
Yep.
our vets do an amazing job, but
Awesome.
groomers are the same as well, they do an
Yeah.
amazing job, but how are you approaching the dog, I mean, I can think of 2 dogs in the last couple of months we've had that a groomer's wrecked,
Mm. Yeah.
and one possibly really severely
Yeah.
wrecked, and one has taken a lot of work.
To get back anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the same thing, with going to the vets. Like, when you go to the vet, sometimes, if you've got a pup or something, it just needs something like it has to. It's a bit like us when we go to hospital, we might, or the dentist, we mightn't like it, but we understand it. But, the pup or the dog might have to have something done, and it sort of hasn't got that context. So
Mm.
sometimes, unfortunately, they can get a bad experience where it's not really the vet's fault. They've got to do what they've got to do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the dog or the pup doesn't understand. So, when those things happen, you do have to just put a little bit more work in,
Yeah, definitely.
so that, you get that good positive association back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we need to look at across the board, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting one.
Interesting. Interesting.
Very.
Alright, well, I think that'll probably wrap things up for today.
Good job. Awesome. Have a great rest of your day.
Yep.
Don't forget to give us a 5-star review if you liked it.
Yep, and, like, if you've got any comments, questions, we'd love to hear from them. We've, got a couple of requests that have come through as comments and messages,
Yeah,
so
we'll
we
be on to them.
might even do one of them next, who
Yep.
knows? Yep. Alright. Bye.
See ya. Bye.